life is when big projects lead to big fights with the family. If you're following along in stories, you know I am a decluttering machine. And my husband and I are all in on this big project that we have been putting off for years. It is a ton of work. And today it got to us. We got into a tiff, a fight, a conflict, a dramatique. And so, why? Why, when you're all pulling together to do something? Let's say you're even just on a really cool big family trip. Why is there conflict? Let's say you're trying to, do something big as a family, whether it's move or buy a home or declutter or just go out to dinner. Why is it a drama? And here are some reasons why. The first thing you need to know is that you are absolutely not alone. Big emotions and big projects lead to sometimes some conflict. And the first reason is because maybe people have differing perspectives, right? Like, what are the priorities right now? I will tell you, when I get focused on a goal this big, I get monovision. It's kind of the only way I can see my way through to the other side. And then I get in this space where I can see the Jenga puzzle that this room is going to end up being, this massive space is going to end up looking like. And I'm all speed ahead to that. But life goes on, right? So cars are getting washed and things are getting repaired and yards are getting mowed. And I'm like, what is all this outside interference? We all just need to focus on this one thing. Or people feel unseen or unheard in the process. Or people are even in the actual achievement of the goal differing. What are the perspectives? My perspective is I want this to be as decluttered as possible while preserving as much precious memory as possible. So if you have different perspectives, we're going to talk tomorrow night about what you can do about that. But one thing to help is going to be to just clarify, where are you coming from? What are your goals in the first place? The next thing is just if you have poor communication issues. And sometimes even communication issues that you have moved beyond, right? Like, we used to always do this passive aggressive thing, but now we've grown through therapy. We're much better at just being direct. Well, some of those old behaviors might come up because you're struggling with the whole stress of the project itself or the whole stress of the event itself. Let's say you're doing a wedding or a graduation or a funeral, right? And there's that crazy uncle that never arrives on time, and he's going to ruin everything, and you feel totally, you get my vibe, right? So how do you communicate with that uncle? Hey, I love you. We're all struggling right now. It's going to be really important that you get to the funeral at least 10 minutes before the funeral begins. Can you promise me that you can do that? It's important to me. I'm asking you as a personal favor, right? And then let it go if he doesn't, because that uncle ain't never coming on time. So part of it is how we respond and how we communicate. And then next is just to understand that everybody's under stress and pressure. We have a tradition in our house. I'm not exactly sure why or what to do about it, where we're going to break something in the process of a big project. Something's going to get broken, and I don't know why or how, but it is just going to happen. Not a human, but a thing. And to that regard, so what? It's a thing. If money fixes it, I'm all in. It's not a big deal, but it's because of the stress and the pressure, right? You're probably under a time limit. You want things to go well. Everybody's trying to get along. I remember my mom used to sit on our fireplace in our home. It was one of those old classic brick fireplaces. And she would say, why can't everybody just get along? And sometimes we just don't. And stress and pressure can revert us back to our lesser selves. And in those moments, I think it's really important to kind of take the third level and say, I'm doing this in the first place so my home will be peaceful and welcoming and uplifting and clear of all negative energy. Why am I bringing negative energy into this? Let me release that, right? Maybe you need to use a little stress away. One of my go-to essential oils to help that. Maybe you need to burn some sage and get those bad energies out. Whatever it is that you do to reset, if you're dealing with stress and pressure, know thyself, right? You know, when you get stressed, how do you behave? You know, when you're under pressure, what do you do? And so be ready to manage those behaviors. Sometimes it's a question of what the division of responsibilities is. I wanted you to be here doing this now, and you're off doing that there. How could you possibly be doing that? We agreed this was the most important project of the day. What's happening? Well, I'm only off over there because that has to get done, or this doesn't even matter, right? You haven't communicated about who's doing what. I'll tell you what works well for us. I have to touch everything. I apologize in some way about that, but that's who I am. I have to touch everything and make sure that not one precious thing is lost. And so I'm the one that goes through all the things. But he is the magician that makes the massive pile of charity go to charity and makes the massive pile of trash go to trash and moves the heavy things that I can't move. So, like today, one of the things that was super helpful is the division of responsibility is you bring me all the Halloween decorations. I will sort them, get rid of things that are broken, put them in the trash, give things to charity that we no longer use, and put all of them in the new organized bins. I didn't get around to labeling them, but that gives you a little insight to who I am. But that was a great division of labor. And now we're going to go back and put them in. I can't lift them, but he can. So figure out what your division of labor is, who is doing what. And in the event of a family, I would say each child should have some level of responsibility that is age appropriate, right? Everyone can have a role in whatever your goal or your task is, but knowing exactly what that goal and role is going to help them succeed in that. Next is going to be financial concerns. If you're worried about money, right? If you're on a trip and all of a sudden the trip is costing more and you're not exactly sure whether it's going to stop, that can be really stressful, and it can lead you to act out maybe when the family doesn't even understand that you are struggling with this financial concern. A lot of bigger projects require significant financial output. To be wholly honest, the project I'm doing right now doesn't require a lot of financial output. It requires a lot of energy and space. But just this past year, we put on a new roof and we did a new deck. I was blessedly out of town for the roof, and the deck was handled by a wonderful, wonderful person. If you're in Charlottesville and you need a new deck, give me a call. I got you covered. And so those projects seemed really big, but went really well. But they were financially massive for us. So we had to make sure we had budgeted around that. If financial concerns are on your heart, you've got to be able to articulate that and say, look, we're really excited to be doing this, but we've got to make sure that we're respecting the family budget, that we all understand, that we're all familiar with. If you need support about how to talk about, set up, or realize what the impact of a budget can be for your family, you can follow Families Seeking Financial Freedom, Families for Financial Freedom. That's a great account that's going to give you a lot of good information because kids need to be in the know on that. And then last but not least can be past baggage, right? The last time we did this, you messed up this way. The uncle that came late to the wedding, the uncle that came late to the funeral, whatever. I would encourage you to articulate your concern if it's something that's been consistent, but to release it, because maybe past isn't always prologue. Maybe what happened in the past isn't always going to happen in the future. And you need to give people room to change. I think it's important to work through baggage if it's really impactful with a therapist, and to have a third party there, because when you're working as an entire family, it can sometimes be a little bit difficult for anyone to be subjective or objective, right? You're sitting there thinking, well, I'm worried about money and I'm really stressed and you're not listening to me, when maybe a third party would be able to say, the good news is that you're all listening to each other. Let's all talk about what we're worried about. And that might make the difference for you. But if past baggage has been an issue for you in any regard, that really might be the way to go, is to get some help with it. Because I know I tend to get wound up around this time in a project because I start to see the finish line and I want to go, 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 go. This is often when I will not listen to my body and create breaks and eat and keep my nutrition up. So I know my past baggage, so I'm trying to stay on top of it. So what would be the things that you're managing? Let's shout out in the comments. Let's all help each other. Let's think about big projects or things that we're trying to manage and ways that we can support you, because that's what this is all about. I hope the rest of your night is amazing. I'll see you back here with suggestions for what we can all do in these big projects, being big fights with the fam.